But Ibrahim did not reply, just continued. Until Hajar asked Ibrahim, is this the command of Allah to you? Did Allah command you to do so? And Ibrahim said, yes. Now, listen to the answer of Hajar. Now, the order of Allah to Ibrahim is to leave them in this deserted place with no water, no food, and no one around. What did she say? Did she complain? Did she reject the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? She answered in a way that is a lesson to everyone. She said, since this is the order of Allah, we are not going to be lost. فَلَنْ يُضَيِّعَنَا. We're not going to be lost. As long as this is the command of Allah, we shall not be lost. When Allah gives you a command and you obey, you will not be lost. If He tells you don't deal with interest in the banks and you obey, don't worry, you will not be lost. If He tells you to wear hijab, don't worry. No matter how much pressure they put around you, like our sisters in France or other places, you shall not be lost as long as you obey the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look how a faithful person, how a believer acts towards the orders of Allah. No hesitation. What is Islam? What does the word Islam means? Islam means submission without any hesitation. No negotiation, no hesitation, no objection to the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is how Hajar, the true believer, acted. So she had faith as much as Ibrahim had faith, and she obeyed the order of Allah and the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and she went back. It is a golden example of patience and obedience and trust for all believers throughout time. And that is why we see that the story of Hajar is not only related in the Quran and recited forever in the Quran, but the footsteps of Hajar, as we shall see, will be followed by all believers, because she set the example for every believer on how to act towards the words. She set the example to all believers on how to act towards the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she went back, and Ibrahim alayhi salam continued, and then when she could not see him anymore, he stopped. And then he started to make a prayer, a dua, a prayer. He said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, "Oh Allah, oh my Lord, I have left in Mecca, in a place where there is no water, and there is no one, and there is no food, and there is no plants. I have left my descendant, my only son, and my wife. Oh Allah, I ask you by your mercy to have mercy on them. Oh Allah, I ask you to send people with hearts, afidatan min al-nas. I don't want you to send anyone. I want you to send people that have hearts to that place to accompany them. And then, oh Allah, I would ask you that they would worship you and continue worshiping you." Look what he's asking for. Oh Allah, I would ask you by your mercy that among the descendants of my son, you shall raise a prophet that would teach them knowledge and wisdom and purify them so that they would worship you. And he continued to pray and pray. See, whenever you are in need, whenever you have a stressful situation, turn back to Allah, ask Allah. He listens. He's waiting for you to ask. Many of us, when we are in a stressful situation, financially or otherwise, we depend on our own thinking on how to solve it and so on. And you should do that. You should try to solve it and try your best. But don't depend on your work. Ask Allah. Call upon Him. Seek refuge with Him. Ask for His help. He's there. He's waiting for you to call. And that's what Ibrahim alayhi salam did. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listened. Meanwhile, Hajar went back to her son. She started to nurse Ishmael with her milk, and she drank the little water that she had left. Very soon all the water dried up, and her milk also dried up, and Ishmael started crying out of thirst. And there was no one to help her around. So she started calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she started to feel very thirsty herself. So now her son is crying, and a child crying would break the heart of his mother. So she couldn't stay. She couldn't just listen to the crying. It's breaking her heart. And there is no one to talk to. There is no one to seek help with. So she started to run. She doesn't know what to do. So she decided to look for someone to help her. And the best place to do that is to go on top of a mountain and look around. And the closest mountain to her was a very small hill called Al-Safa. As-Safa. So she climbed on top of Al-Safa to get a better view of the valley below, in hope that she could find some water or someone or any sign that might help her. But there was nothing. There was nothing in sight. There was no water inside. There was no human activity at all. So she descended the hill. And when she was at the bottom of the hill, she started to run. And then when she started climbing, she started to walk to the next mountain, and that is Al-Marwa. And she started to look around, and there was nothing. Now the natural thing is to go to the third mountain or a hill. But she did not go to the third mountain. She went back to the first mountain. Doesn't make sense. Why would she go back to the same mountain? But see, now Marwa is far away from her son. And if she goes somewhere else, she would fear for her son. So now logic tells her she should move to the next mountain, while emotions tell her, don't be away from your son. And emotions overcame logic. So she went back, and she kept going back and forth 7 times. And that is why we Muslims go 7 times between these 2 mountains on the footsteps of a woman. Have you seen any religion that gave so much glory to a woman that it is a worship, it is a must that we would walk on the same footsteps of a woman, to glorify this woman and to glorify the feelings of a mother?